Welcome, my friends. Welcome to another upload. Welcome, my friends. Welcome to another Upload VR virtual chat. Not a download because it's not Thursday or Monday, but we're here talking about our most anticipated games of 2021, our most anticipated VR games of 2021. And to take us through this huge task, I have two wonderful gentlemen with me. To my left, if I sit here, I have the one, the only, David Jagno.
Yo, what up? David Jagno, senior editor, uploadvr.com. I'm dropping the knowledge.
Well, I would hope so. We had you here for a reason. And that hearty chuckle comes from none other than Harry Baker.
Hello, it's me, Harry, news writer at Upload VR. How is everyone?
I'm doing quite fine. You join us at the winter wrap-up, the midway point of our winter wrap-up week-long event. We've had some really cool reveals so far. We've been revealing new stuff all week. We've been having some really cool conversations. Monday, we showed off the Wizard's Dark Times, showed off new quest footage of that. Yesterday, we saw new updates for Blaston and Demio. Today, we got a really cool segment showing off a game we're going to talk about in a bit, so I won't spoil it now. And then tomorrow we have Unplugged and Traffic Jams coming up, new dev diaries on them, and then come back Friday for exclusive gameplay of Sam and Max. This time, it's virtual. How exciting. Oh, there goes my hand. How exciting. Guys.
It is exciting.
We're here to talk about our most anticipated games of the new year. 2021's coming up. I'm excited about it again.
So fast. So quickly.
I think virtually every person on the planet's excited for 2020 to be over.
Yeah.
Games or no games?
Yeah, you could just not do anything next year and it'd be like, yeah, get me it. I want to be there right now. So what we're going to do is
monotony.
Yeah, don't we all? What we're going to do is I have picked, we have all picked 2 games each that we are going to talk about that are our most anticipated VR games of the new year. And then we've got some extra bonus stuff to talk about as well. But we're going to go around one at a time, say one game, then we'll move on until we've done all 6 games that we've picked. David, I want to start with you. What is your first pick for your most anticipated VR games of 2021?
First pick. My most anticipated VR game of 2021, I think, is probably Lo-Fi. And that answer could be partially influenced by me playing Cyberpunk 2077 over the past week. But also, I've been looking forward to this game for a while. Ever since I first played Technoless back, what was it, 4 to 5 years ago? I can't remember now. That was game, right? The first game from Iris VR, Blair Renaud Studio, and he is working with his small team on a follow-up. It's called Lo-Fi. It is a cyberpunk style game that's exclusively made for VR. You can see it in the footage here if you're watching along on YouTube. It was funded over on Kickstarter.
This is just a trade. This is just a trailer for Blade Runner, David.
Oh, dang it. Hey, Heedy.
Yes.
Again. Yeah, I mean, it's heavily inspired by Blade Runner, by, cyberpunk fiction, by all that entire subgenre. I mean, it's the fact that you can look at a trailer for this game and think that it's Blade Runner, I think is a great compliment. I think that's exactly what they're going for. Yeah,
that's true.
And what they've talked about is having it be a very open-ended style game. You play as an officer within the whatever. I don't know if it's a police department or what exactly it's called, but you're like a detective. You can go on there's optional things you can do, side missions. You can explore the city. There's lots of little storylines and quest lines that exist there. The way they described it sounds really ambitious, very open-ended. And I'm excited to see what it's like because Technolust was an extremely linear narrative. It kind of dealt with the metaverse and technology and stuff in a similar fashion. But this is looking awesome. I'm really excited for it. I played a little demo of it a while back where I got to fly the cruiser around the city. And
that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, you
Like-
can sign up for the alpha on itch.io
Yeah,
right now, and I think
because
you can
play
actually
it
jump
now.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
And how much of
extremely
the
excited.
alpha is a playable thing? Is it like everything they've made so far, or is it just like one tiny section? Because I haven't played it.
That's a great question. I'm not sure what exactly is available in the alpha, but
We should find out.
yeah, because he updates it a lot. He updates it all the time.
Yeah.
One interesting tidbit is, as you might see in the bottom left corner of the trailer here, they preemptively announced this for PS5 back even during the Kickstarter. And in a recent Q&A interview we did with him that's on the site at uploadvr.com, he kind of said that he didn't know if that's still the case because it seems like Sony's plans may have changed, but he can't speak to that. So I think as of now, the plan is to bring it to whatever the next PSVR headset is. That obviously could change, but this is first and foremost, developed and designed to be a high-end PC VR title. So there are some talks about a Quest spinoff that he's working on. It's codenamed Agency. We might have some coverage of that coming very soon. But yeah, Lo-Fi. This is my first pick for anticipated game of 2021. I'm very excited for this.
Two things about Lo-Fi, okay, that I'm personally thinking. First of all, I don't think it will come out next year. I totally think it should be in the list, but it's hard, right?
Fair.
Because it's one of those things where this is developed by a small team, making what progress they can when they can. And I mean, we've been looking forward to it for what, like a year and a bit already, right? Something like that. It was back in the first E3 VR showcase, I remember.
Even before the Kickstarter, it was already, he had already been posting about it. And it's funny that you talk about it that way because the other Cyberpunk game that came out last week,
true.
It arguably launched way too early, even though it's been in development for years. There's tons of bugs, lots of performance issues. And it's funny because if you remember back, like one of the earlier trailers for Cyberpunk 2077, they had like a teaser that said it will release when it's ready.
Yeah.
And
it was a big thing. It was like at the end, it was like when it's ready, and you were like, "Cool, all right, you're gonna do this properly."
Clearly,
like, nope,
that wasn't good enough for the investors. I'm guessing.
The investors weren't on board with that message.
Ready is December 2020.
Ready for the holiday season.
The other thing about it. The other thing about it is because it's made by such a small team and there is so much hype around it, I do actually also think we should exercise some level of cyberpunk caution, right? Like,
oh, for sure.
When it's finally ready, who knows how much gameplay is going to be involved, how big the area is, what you can actually do in it. Everything the developer talks about sounds really, really ambitious. Like he refers to Blair, the developer, refers to it as a new kind of VR simulation that's not a game, but you're just meant to go in there and start being another person and doing all these sandboxy things.
Yeah.
Sounds really, really cool. It's just going to be about, as soon as we get in there, like testing those limits and seeing how far it goes, how open-ended it is, right?
And it's such a double-edged sword for, any game developer, but I feel like especially in VR because people are so starved for high-quality content that you announce a game and you give a window of when you expect it to come out. And, if you delay it to make it better, obviously I think that's the best decision in the long term. Better, what's the Miyamoto quote? Like a delayed game is eventually good. A rush game is always bad or something like that.
Yeah.
And the problem with that though is the more it gets delayed, the further you push it out, the more you market it, the higher the hype goes.
Yep.
And, it's about meeting that, finding that middle ground. And I think that's the really tough part. And the fact that this is an indie project, self-funded, Kickstarter, that kind of thing, it's not, partnering with Oculus to bring it to like an Oculus Studios game or published by Sony. I think that the majority of people that have been following it have that sort of understanding and they're kind of approaching it with the necessary trepidation. And the fact that you can play the alpha now should help set expectations. I'm guessing. Sure. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited just because the promise is there. They're a proven team. I've seen what they can do, and I've seen what they could do at the very beginning, early ages of VR. So now imagining what they could be capable of after years of more development time, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out.
I think it's a really good sign that even in the trailer and stuff, it looks really visually appealing. Like even if we get in, I'm still excited to get in and walk around and fly the ship around. Even if no matter what happens with the quest or how the rest of the game pans out, I think it's a really good early sign that it looks so good. Excuse me.
Yeah, for sure. Before we move on to Harry's first choice, let's just say hi to everyone in the chat watching along live with us. Hey, G-Dog Cheeseburger, good to see you. Hey, Mike Ward, always good to see you. Gustavo, good to have you here. Jonas, good to have you here. I saw someone just above.
JD Claiborne. Hello.
Beat me to
Yo,
it.
JD Claiborne.
TJ Studio.
TJ Studio, good to see you. Project 4 is actually a good one that we haven't actually, I haven't written down to talk about, but that is the new quest game from Stress Level Zero, the developers of Boneworks. We have no idea when that's going to be revealed.
Yeah,
we know it's a
true.
Boneworks.
Wasn't that was meant to be this year though, wasn't it?
They alluded to that it wouldn't be revealed until this year, but I would imagine, Boneworks updates and obviously pandemic stuff.
Oh, I never expected it this year. Yeah.
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 Sure.
Yeah.
But that's a good one. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do with the physical stuff on Quest. Obviously, the port of Saints and Sinners was really, really good. So if they can try and replicate some of that, I think that'll be a really, really interesting one. Harry, hit me with your first pick.
Well, it's got to be Hitman 3. However, it's it's got to be Hitman 3. But I don't know. It comes with such a big asterisk for me because I'm so excited for Hitman 3. Yeah, it's just like equal parts excitement and like I really don't want to play this on PSVR on a PS4. But yeah.
So in other words, I'm not looking forward to it whatsoever.
It's like I think I really love that we're getting PSVR support and that also it's kind of retroactive so that if you own all the last levels, which I do, it will be kind of you can import them all into Hitman 3 as you've been able to do with Hitman 2 and Hitman 1, and then play all of them through in VR, which I think is awesome. However, I guess in some ways I have technical issues about how Hitman is a huge game. There's lots of AI and stuff. Combining that with VR on like a base PlayStation 4, I do have concerns about that. But the other big concern is that there's no move controller support. It's all DualShock, which I actually keep forgetting about because you see stuff like this and you kind of see the hands and you're like, cool. So barring the fact that PlayStation VR in itself is such an old platform now, it's still only using a move controller. And it just, to me, that's just kind of like, I don't know how that's going to feel good.
But doesn't Hitman not even have move support?
No, it's just tracked with the DualShock 4.
It's just the DualShock.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So you just use one of his hands.
Which is like, what?
It's
very strange.
I would already be kind of like, it's the move controllers, but it's not even that. Yeah. It's just the gamepad.
No,
so it's like
and the trailer kind of the way that the arms move, it kind of makes you think that it's going to be move controllers.
Right,
and it's not. They've only announced that it's got DualShock support. And it's kind of combined with this whole situation we've found ourselves in where it's not coming out for PSVR on PS5. You can play it on PSVR and PS5, but you have to use the PS4 version.
I mean, after seeing what Blood and Truth did in terms of kind of updating it and making it a little more polished, I'm hoping that IO will do the same. It seems how it's coming out several months after the PS5 launch. Like, surely they're going to make it look and run better on PS5. I hope.
But I think the thing with that is there's only so much you can do within those kind of tweaking the PS4 games. You can kind of up the resolution or up the frame rate and stuff. But as we've been told, they don't give you access if it's a PS4 game to the full CPU kind of limits of the PS5. And with a game like Hitman, where it's like a giant simulation and there's loads of AI, I have almost like I know the other Hitman games have run fine. I play both of them on my PS4, but I think combining that with VR, I worry that you might get in and it just looks a lot more bare. Yeah, there's a lot of weird concerns I have about this, but I'm looking forward to it in theory, I guess.
I have a prediction that once the game comes out on PSVR, we'll see one of those Jurassic Park harmonica themes with that first trailer where it'll be "Welcome to Jurassic Park,"
I
and
really
then
hope
it'll
we
go
might.
to the real Dubai level, and there'll be way less people, and it'll look way more jaggy. I mean, the thing is, like, it sounds like we're being really, really harsh about it, but Harry's right at the end of the day that this is just the hardware we're talking about getting in the way of what seems to be like a very otherwise expertly developed experience, right? They're talking about how, like, if you watch some of the developer diaries and stuff they've done, they talk about how, like, they've gone back and they've changed the whole world so that you can do things like tap an enemy on the shoulder so he looks that way and then lay him out on the other way, or, you know, like pick up any weapon and just throw it across the room or anything like that. All of that, once you get that on PC with a pair of hand controllers, sounds like it'll be really fantastic. Or if you get it on PSVR 2, hopefully, if that ever happens. It's just right now, this current incarnation, I think Harry's absolutely 100% right to be very, very wary of.
I also have some slight concerns in that I think it's great that it's like an optional VR mode and you can import all the old maps from Hitman 1 and 2 in. But I do wonder how all of that, if it's not being designed for VR, how those Hitman maps work in VR, or if they work in VR. I think the people's assumption is like, oh well, we love these maps, playing these maps. There's some really great maps in the whole series now. And I just think maybe when you get in VR, because nothing will have changed, like all of a sudden it might seem like a really huge map that takes forever to get anywhere.
Yeah, true.
And it will feel different, I think, in VR because it's going to be there's huge spaces, and you know, walking in VR is, I think, when you're walking in Hitman and you're in that third person view, you've got a lot of space to observe and kind of listen into things. I think when you're in first person, you're kind of walking. You have to be doing a lot more kind of looking around, and like I just feel like it'll feel different, and I worry that a combination of like restrictions of the PS4, like some of those maps have so many AI in them that I can't help but feel like it will be a bit like a cyberpunk situation where there's just kind of like AI clearly missing. But yeah, I don't know. I worry at that, and I just worry that maybe because they're not designed for VR, the maps might not be like as compelling in VR as they are out of VR. That's my other concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think it deserves
a real
to be talked
shame
about.
it's yeah, definitely. But it's a real shame because it's such a big like franchise and it's such a big deal. And I do suspect, I suspect / hope that it'll also come to PC VR maybe later down the line, or PSVR 2 or whatever. But it's just such a shame that this like big deal of like not just Hitman, but these Hitman games that have been really successful and kind of loved by the fans are coming to VR, but it's like with this big kind of disclaimer of like, oh, but it's not the way we kind of would prefer to play it, or the best way to play it even.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it works out. It's only, I mean, it's coming out like almost a month to the day, so we won't have to wait long to find out how Hitman 3 works out.
True.
I'm going to go for my first pick, which is going to be Wraith, the Oblivion Afterlife, which is the new game from Fast Travel Games. We had a section on it on the winter wrap-up today. We showed the first Quest 2 development footage of the game, which I thought was looking really, really, really good, actually. What we're showing on the screen right now is a really, really cool mixed reality trailer. Basically, it's a horror game. You play as a Wraith in the World of Darkness universe. You are a character that dies at the start of the game, then turns into a Wraith, and you kind of stalk the halls of this haunted mansion. I guess trying to clear up unfinished business or whatever Wraiths do, with some enemies around as well that kind of they're like ghosts as well, but they're like a lot more vicious and scary than you. What really excites me about this game is kind of the messaging that Fast Travel has gone with so far. Is that this isn't just going to be your average VR horror game where it's going to go quite bang, or you know, monsters are going to run around the corner and make you jump and make me want to rip off the headset, but they're going for, you know, a genuine sense of atmosphere and dread, and kind of like tapping into some of the things in classic survival horror games perhaps that have really, really worked, like, you know, how in Silent Hill or early Resident Evil games you have like limited ammo and you might have to hide from the enemies like we're seeing here. I'm hopeful that they can come up with some really unique stuff that really speaks to horror in VR more than we've seen almost any other genre right now. Me and David both love Resident Evil 7, but it's still like a, you know, a flat screen game in VR. There's not much there that is unique to VR, and I'm really hoping this is the one that, make some new territory, I guess is what I'd say.
Yeah. It looks awesome. I mean, I haven't really looked into the game a whole lot, so everything you just said was new information for me. So I'm really curious about it. I don't really know much of anything about the World of Darkness other than Vampire Masquerade and werewolf stuff, and so I mean, this whole concept of a wraith is brand new to me. I'm going to be going in totally blind.
Yeah, well, it's the first World of Darkness game focused on the wraiths. Like the whole thing about the board game is, there are vampires and werewolves, and then wraith is like a third pillar of the whole board game or tabletop game. So it's the first time anyone's done anything like that with the series. Also, obviously, the first time it's in VR. And as you saw in the trailer, like there's a couple of things happening. Like you do have powers, so you can pick up objects from afar and manipulate them, move through like special gaps in the wall. But then when it comes to the enemies, it's going to be that kind of thing where you are largely powerless. There might be some ways to fight back against them at times, but a lot of the time you're going to be wanting to hide from them, which I think is such a cool idea. I think we haven't. We all talk about when we talk about VR horror, we all talk about how cool it would be to like lean around corners physically or duck under like desks and stuff, right? But we don't ever actually end up making much use of that, and I think that's a real shame. Like so many games are still very smooth locomotion focused, and rather than leaning, you probably still just move the stick, right?
Yeah, like how many VR games can you play, entirely by either standing still or sitting still, and barely moving your body? Because and
you will have to move in this, but I just hope the pacing is kind of right, that you kind of really root yourself in each environment. So yeah, it's coming out early next year on pretty much all headsets. Like I said, we've got Quest 2 development footage on the site today. David, you should definitely go watch that because it gives you a really good look. And visually, I actually think the Quest 2 version's turning out quite nicely so far.
That's exciting. Yeah, I like VR horror, so that sounds like a really interesting twist on the genre.
I mean, more than likely, you'll be the one reviewing it, so yeah. I'll just be peering from afar. David, speaking of you, the person that you are, David, what's your next pick, David?
You make it sound like the game's going to be called David, but it's not.
Is it David versus Goliath VR? Wow, what a pick.
That's already out. Yeah.
Oh, is it out now? Okay, I've got to check that out.
I think so. I'm pretty sure. I think it's called DVG or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So my next pick is equally on brand. It's not a horror game. But if you know very much about me, I love MMOs. So my next pick is Ilysia, spelled IlYsia. It is another Kickstarter game because that's apparently all that I pay attention to. And and also full disclosure, I should admit I backed Lo-Fi and Ilysia on Kickstarter personally. So you're just I'll obviously include that in my coverage, but so I mean I am so like looking forward to both of those games that I put my own money down. So I'm excited. And so this is Ilysia. I believe this is the wrong trailer. Is this Archgate? This isn't Ilysia. Or is this a new trailer for Ilysia? Oh, okay, never mind. Wow, okay. I guess this is a trailer I haven't seen yet. I'm excited. I'm gonna have to go watch this. So Ilysia is I think it's the first game this team has worked on. We have a lot of coverage on the site. I've done interviews and like different stuff like that. It's what they're essentially trying to do is take Orbis VR, which is like the first VR MMO, take what that game did well and build on it. And they want this to look and feel like a legitimate MMO. Like if you look at Orbis VR and you think, oh yeah, for a VR MMO, it's all right. But at this one, they want this to really be, kind of the first like full-fledged MMO in VR. So like as you can see, like your characters, I don't know what all that is. I've never seen that before. Like your characters actually have like full IK, full avatars, all of your gear, your weapons, all that stuff you can actually see on your character when you equip it. It's not just floating hands like in Orbis. They've got really, really giant, large environments. You can climb and scale things, kind of like Breath of the Wild style. There's lots of giant enemies that you fight. It's like there's airships, there's tons of creatures, and this is like the kind of MMO that I've wanted in VR for, I can't even tell you how long.
This is a different game to the one we were just watching. I think the first one was just, and I'd seen the trailer for the other one. I understand why Heaney got confused because they're a bit similar looking.
Okay,
but
so I was correct.
Ilysia,
Yeah, this is Ilysia. Yeah, that other one, I think it's called Archgate. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but it's another MMO.
But yeah, no, this is going to be really interesting. Like the quest for the VR MMO doesn't even like really feel like it's started yet. Like you said, there's Orbis on Quest, but this doesn't feel like an MMO to me still. Really, I guess there was Nostos last year as well, but that just came out and
that wasn't even
instantly.
an MMO. They lied in their marketing. Basically, it was essentially a single player survival game with optional co-op. It was not an MMO. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah, this one, I mean, like growing up, like one of the first PC games I ever played was EverQuest. And that just blew my mind as, like a 9-10-year-old kid. I would go visit my brother over the summer every year. And whenever he was at work, I would play EverQuest like all day. It was the babysitter. And then he would come home from work and he would play all the way until like 2 or 3 in the morning. I would sit in a chair right next to him and just watch. As I was so enthralled with it. And this to me kind of has echoes of that feeling that it's sort of almost like a new frontier for MMOs, because I think so many of them now are so formulaic, but this one I feel like it has the chance to break new ground and really do some really cool stuff. Even though it's an indie team, it's an indie studio, I think they have a lot of potential, and I'm really excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I've seen this trailer, and I actually kind of agree. I think like it's really cool that they're actually showing you what seems to definitely be gameplay footage, right? There doesn't seem to be much smoke and mirrors going on here.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it looks like it's got MMO combat and everything like that. So not necessarily the most technically deep or skillful combat, but at the same time, like the ability to meet up with friends that you would actually believe are standing right next to you and do stuff like this is going to be so powerful. And this genuinely looks like another really good step towards that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, whenever I play RPGs and MMOs and stuff, I am a very vain person. I like collecting loot. I like collecting gear. I like being able to reflect what I found on my character. And I feel like there are so many games these days, even outside of VR, that don't do a good job of that, where you find like the Avengers game that came out, or there's so many games where like you grind for stats and you collect loot that doesn't change the way you look. And so, I mean, like to me, that's so huge. Whenever they showed that, and they in one of our articles, we have the actual character sheet that you have in the game that they have something like 6 or 8 different gear slots. So I mean, it's like there's a lot of stuff in this, and I mean, like look at that shield and the sword. Oh, it's just it looks so nice.
Really cool.
Having just heard you say all that about loot, I'm now like putting into context all the Cyberpunk messages you've sent me over the last week of like, have you been here yet? Have you found the the gun in this spot and the gun over here? And if you go right here on this street, and then there's like some police officers. And like, yeah, so that makes a lot of sense now. You love the loot.
I need loot pinatas in every game I play. Whenever I kill something, I gotta see the purples and
the
oranges.
Satisfaction of loot.
Yep.
Coins must trickle out on the floor.
You're the guy that like really loves the card backs in Hearthstone that like collects them and customize everything.
I don't skip any of the animations. I have to watch it every time. Yeah.
Let's hope they never come up with like a metaverse where David can like store all this stuff, because he'll need like a giant house at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's just got the world's biggest garage full of.
Oh man, there it is. There, perfect, Heaney. Thank you.
Oh,
look at all those gear slots.
Are you sure that isn't a screenshot from Baldur's Gate?
Look at all those gears.
I'm telling you, I'm excited for this.
So what? Do we have like
that's cool.
Any like release window? Like what did they say in their Kickstarter? Is it like maybe end of next year, or
I want to say
actually end up?
Yeah, I want to say it was, I think Q3 or Q4 of next year. It's in alpha and everything now. If you sign up on their Discord, they do like little brief tests here and there. I haven't tried it yet. I kind of want to wait until it's a little more polished before I jump in. Yeah, it's looking nice. I mean, I think they've said they've already got it running on Quest and PSVR. It's supposed to be full crossplay.
Well, they had Quest in that trailer, so
Yeah.
you would hope so.
Yeah, so they seem to be approaching it correctly and checking all the boxes. Very, very mindful of the market right now and what expectations are for something like this. So they're doing a good job. So I'm looking forward to it.
Harry, game number 2 for you.
So my next one, yes, game number 2 is Maskmaker by the same studio who did A Fisherman's Tale. Yes, Maskmaker. I'm very excited because I really liked Fisherman's Tale. Actually, that's not wholly true. I got very annoyed at Fisherman's Tale, but then ended up liking it after the fact. But playing it, I was like, "What's going on?"
That's how those kind of games are, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of like in the moment I was very frustrated, but the time I spend away from A Fisherman's Tale, I was like, "That was quite clever." I was just very annoyed.
What?
But yeah, so. Yeah, it's just but I think it looks really cool. I think like these sections at the beginning of the trailer look quite different to A Fisherman's Tale, but then later on in the trailer there's the bit kind of inside where they've got the mask and you kind of see a bit of like the workshop. And I think that looks, you can kind of see the Fisherman's Tale style.
What's the premise here? Why is it called Maskmaker?
Very, very good question. I think you're a is it a puppet maker? I can't. Jamie might help me.
Aren't you a mask maker? Isn't that what? Look, you just made a mask. Right there
yeah,
in the trailer.
Like, is it? Yes, okay, you make some mask, but I thought it was like for puppets or something. I can't remember. Yes, but basically you're a mask maker, and the idea is you put the mask on and off, right?
I think you meet a legendary mask maker, and he's like, "Go and make some masks." That might be it.
Funnily enough, you play as a glass blower. So let me explain.
I feel like it'll be similar to A Fisherman's Tale in that, there is a story. I mean, I guess there was quite a significant story to A Fisherman's Tale, I guess. But I think, you'll kind of probably, my suspicion is you'll wake up in the mask making shop and, be trying on masks. And then it's kind of a focus on the puzzles with this vague kind of mask maker kind of
So, I mean, does it seem like each of the masks give you like a different like a lens to view the world or something, or is it like powers?
I would hope so. I don't think we know that much beyond that. I think they give a brief synopsis, like Jimmy said, of like
I think it's something like each mask might even take you to a different world. I think there's like 6 or 8 different worlds, and this time, whereas the world was quite small in Fisherman's Tale, like each of these will be quite big, fully fleshed out environments. So I think they're going to something that's like
a bigger game, right?
Yeah, like multi-hour, hopefully. Yes, time around. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
I love The Fisherman's Tale.
Exactly. I love The Fisherman's Tale loads. Inner Space themselves did some really fantastic VR movies before The Fisherman's Tale. I think they are definitely a developer that really approaches VR in a very native and organic way and really thinks about like what makes the platform special. And so it's weird because with A Fisherman's Tale, they had that instant hook of like the puzzle within the puzzle co-op within your yourself, and the amazing feeling of like looking out and seeing a bigger version of yourself and then looking down and seeing a smaller version. I don't know if this has that instant genius hook, but I'm hoping it's like you find it within it once you start playing it, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how there's this one puzzle game that I always talk about. I don't know if either of you have. I don't think Jamie has. He refuses to play it out of spite. I don't think Harry has played it. And the game is Transpose, and it has a really cool gimmick like that.
You talk about this. Yeah.
Yes. So hear me out, everybody. Transpose is incredible.
Yeah. Right.
The concept here is you play through the level, and then it records your actions, and then you rewind, and while your echo of yourself is playing through the level, you can interact with it. And so you have to go through and create echoes of yourself and there's like gravity defying. It's amazing. Anyway,
that sounds cool.
If it's half as good as Transpose, then maybe it'll be a good game.
Well, the thing is, for me, is like I've watched the trailer and read all the stuff that's come out about it, but I really appreciated how, with The Fisherman's Tale, it was very native to VR in that like all the puzzles felt like they could only be done in VR. And it felt like I was like, oh, you're using this stuff in a way that I haven't thought about, or I feel like I can only do on a headset. And I hate like even like horror games. I think it's very common in like kind of not like a lot of the horror games I've played on Quest or on VR in general, it's kind of like puzzles then just become like normal puzzles because it's kind of like, you know, find the object, find the key to the door, you know, press this code on a thing which hard to press buttons and some weird code on a pinboard somewhere. It's always like this weird, annoying kind of like normal puzzle
you're forgetting
stuff. Whereas this is not that.
It's puzzles, but then also spooky. See how that?
Yeah, exactly. So you get away with it because it's that's that. I know that's the thinking, but it annoys me. But my point is that because the Fisherman's Tale was so like, you know, the puzzles were so inventive, and every single one of them was. They were all like that. I have full confidence that they're not going to magically make a puzzle game that isn't like that. So although we don't know what that kind of hook is yet, obviously it would involve the mask. I'm sure there is some kind of exciting hook or exciting, you know, multiple exciting mechanics that kind of use VR in a smart way. And I love the whole, I think putting on masks and taking things on and off your face is a really fun thing in VR. Like, I think of like virtual reality where you're putting on the headsets. And taking them off, and like the way that plays with the genre, or like the Under Presents and the way you can take your mask off and do things with it. I think like interacting with your head, as in kind of almost making the fact that you're wearing a headset part of the gameplay, is really quite a clever way to kind of acknowledge that you've got this thing on your head, you know, and you're doing stuff with it. So I'm excited to see what they do with that. I have full confidence in it that it will be something special.
Well, Maskmaker's due out, I think, it says spring 2021 there, and I think it's coming to pretty much every headset under the sun, right? PC, Quest, and PSVR have all been confirmed, I think. So that's a cool one. That's definitely something to look forward to for every VR fan, no matter where you like playing, unless it's Google Daydream, in which case you don't play VR anymore. Anyway, moving on to my next pick. I'm going to cheat, and technically I have two, but they've only ever been spoken about as a pair anyway. I'm going to talk about Ubisoft's Splinter Cell and Assassin's Creed games. That's interesting. Which were both announced at Facebook Connect earlier this year. But we don't know a heck of a lot about them yet. We know that a specific team, I believe in Germany, I think it's the Ubisoft Dusseldorf team, I want to say. I might be wrong about that. Are making both a new Splinter Cell game and a new Assassin's Creed game, both exclusively designed for VR, both exclusive to Oculus platforms, which probably just means Quest. Might mean Rift 2, we don't know yet. And I think
Rift 2, Jamie. Jamie.
No. Moving on. I think I don't really think we'll see these this year. If we're lucky, I think we might see like gameplay of one of them maybe by the end of the year. But I actually don't really like Assassin's. I love Splinter Cell, but I don't really like Assassin's Creed. But that's always been a control thing for me. I've never liked the way the game plays. And of course, when you're in VR, that's all going to be completely rewritten. And I think the series makes such good sense for VR at the end of the day. The focus on stealth, traversal, which is largely climbing about, you know, like how cool it would feel to have like a blade around your wrist. They're being very coy. This is an official teaser image they've released, and that's pretty much every protagonist in the series so far right now, right? So either they're hinting that this is going to be some sort of game that jumps between different eras in the universe, which would be really, really cool, or maybe we'll just be one of those people, or maybe they'll come up with something entirely new. We'll have to see. It'll be really interesting, I think, to see if Ubisoft goes all out and delivers something, you know, the scale of probably not Odyssey, but then like maybe one of the earlier Assassin's Creed games, right? Like, will we have an open world? Will it be filled with loads of different side missions? Will there be all these kinds of different collectibles? Like, is this going to be like a 20 to 30 hour game? I don't know. Do we want that?
It's very weird to think about like how they're going to translate Assassin's Creed to VR, because like I know like mechanically it probably worked quite well, but I think almost to me it's easy to forget how big of a deal Assassin's Creed is, because it's one like every year or every 2 years or whatever it is. And like it's been going for so long now, and they still sell well, and people are so passionate about it. I'm not a huge Assassin's Creed fan, but so many people are, and I just think you're right. Like they're these notoriously big games where you just go, "This is everything you can do now in this area." I just wonder how they'll translate that feeling of an assassin. It's a very distinct kind of almost genre in itself. of like this is an Assassin's Creed game and how that's going to translate over.
I agree. Well, I mean, it's the Ubisoft game, right? Isn't it? Like you go somewhere, you go up the tower, you unlock all the tasks, and I guess we still haven't really seen that in VR yet, right? Like we haven't seen a Far Cry or anything like that as well. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I think it would be really cool to give it its own protagonist and own time zone, so that they could really really play to it rather than trying to cram the existing canon or universe or whatever into a VR game. But either
what I'm
way,
going to
I
say
think
is, as much as I hope you guys are correct and they go that route, I'm going to say based on this image, I think that they're not going to do that. I think it's going to be a greatest hits compilation of vignettes where you play like little segments of each of those eras, maybe 2 to 3 hours long, and that's it. That's what I honestly think it's going to be.
It would be so much work to do what we just described, like a full Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
those games are enough work, like to make a whole new one for a normal console or PC, let alone like VR. I can just imagine. And of course, if you're going for a greatest hits, then there's like assets you can reuse. It's kind of already there's a lot less prep work, even just like lore wise, or like coming up with characters and stuff. You've kind of already got the stuff, the building blocks there to go, okay, we'll just kind of take these bits.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing you have to be careful about, right, is that, we're probably hopefully this, maybe 2021, but probably like 2022 or 2023 out from playing one of these two. And it'd be very easy to start like letting the hype train leave the station right now and think, this is it, Ubisoft's going all in on VR, but we literally just got to the end of the hype train from Medal of Honor, and we've kind of seen where that landed us, right? So I think David's right. I think as much as we would love to see that big, ambitious, AAA game, I do think there's a high chance this boils down to a series of linear missions. Well, which
because also like let's keep in mind, how does Ubisoft announce a new full-fledged entry in the Assassin's Creed series with a collage picture?
True,
they wouldn't do
very
that.
True.
It would get its own reveal event. It would have a trailer. It would have,
they could
what's his
still
face.
Do that.
I mean, they could, but I'm just saying
I feel like
that
it's just a teaser because they,
based on what we've seen in the past with these kind of games where they tie in IPs, I don't think this is going to be a full Assassin's Creed game. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm expecting this to be like a collection of vignettes that's a couple hours long. That's what I feel like it's going to be. And like I said, maybe I'm wrong, but especially with the way Oculus handled the Medal of Honor reveal, I think if they wanted this to have that same sort of level of expectation, they wouldn't have revealed it with just a collage image. But who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, it's like the series isn't like a stranger to spin-offs, right? There's the Assassin's Creed Chronicles games, which are just side scrollers. There's Liberation. There's Bloodlines on the PSP. And I mean, at the end of the day, we all know they're already pouring the next however many 100 millions into the next big console thing, right? And this isn't going to be that. You are right about that. So I don't know. I'm hoping. I think best case scenario, there's probably something between what David's saying and what we're saying. That is like, maybe a smaller open world. Maybe you're just in one city, for example. Like that could be really, really cool. And then you make that a really detailed, textured place that you have to kind of weave through. That could be amazing. I am really, really excited about and have very high hopes, having just said all of that, about Splinter Cell, because the series has been away for so long, and it makes as much sense as Assassin's Creed makes. Splinter Cell makes loads of sense for VR. And all the great VR stealth games we've had so far, which, there's been a fair few now, none of them have still 100% nailed the phase where you're discovered and like the enemy AI doesn't just completely fall to pieces, right? The only one that really held its own there, I think, was Phantom, and that was because the enemy AI could never get close to you. They had to be on their little platform, so there was only so much they could do. I really want a AAA developer to come in and really focus on that and have a very unique situation where when you're discovered, guards react in a realistic way. You don't just see them like run at you with a gun or run around a corner and then just stand around the corner. I want them to like go away and regroup, or maybe if they get too close, you can do like close quarters combat to stop them or something like that. That's what I'm really, really, really hoping to see. We will get. I will say we will, when this one's fully revealed, I reckon we'll get Half-Life level, Alex levels of fallout of people saying, "Why isn't this on consoles as well?" But
yeah, and I think to your point as well, Splinter Cell as a franchise, especially if you go back to the first, 3 or 4 entries in the series, it's always been a series that is like, 99% of the time, you really do need to be stealthy. It's not like, not like Assassin's Creed or even Metal Gear or a lot of the games that have stealth, but, at the end of the day, stuff hits the fan and you're going to just go in guns blazing at some point. Splinter Cell doesn't really have that as an option, usually. So I think it lends itself well to a slow, methodical pace. And, both of these games, I think, could look to a little indie game called Unnightly that I think did a pretty good job of being a small-scale, slow-paced stealth game. I like Deathspire. I thought it was good. But I think that genre as a whole is, like you said, Jamie, it's waiting to have the lid blown off. I think Splinter Cell could totally do that. And like you said, it's been away for a while. It's not like Assassin's Creed where everyone is expecting a new one every 2 years and they already had this idea in their head of a massive open world. Splinter Cell could get away with being a linear 6 to 8 hour game and still be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that, and that would be my prediction. That of the two, that is Splinter Cell is the far more critically and more well liked of the two.
There's so much area for Assassin's Creed to go wrong is the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Like you just look at it and you're just like, oh, it could be really good, but I can just see how it'd be like a really bad experience that's just kind of phoned in. Like you can just see the 2 parts and you go, oh man, yeah. But
like
fingers crossed it's not, but you can just
someone is in an office right now, like working out how you can just hide in Hey in VR and it not be like completely disorientating, basically.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Whoa, it can't be done really right now."
A quick shout out to Jacob and Controller Player in the chat. An Uncharted game in VR could be awesome. After Blood and Truth, I'm convinced that Uncharted VR would be pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, like some of the set pieces in Blood and Truth are like legit Uncharted level at the end of the day. They're amazing, aren't they? Yeah, I definitely think that could be a really cool. I mean, just in general, when it comes to PlayStation, I would love to see like a kind of compilation, kind of like what we were talking about with Assassin's Creed. I would love for them to like take a bunch of their franchises and say, okay, let's not make full games, but let's do an hour of Uncharted here, an hour of Ratchet and Clank here. I think that could be really, really cool. But
even like a PSVR 2 kind of thing that comes maybe even preloaded, but like I think that'd be a really cool buy PSVR 2 and get like an hour of like Uncharted, an hour of Ratchet and Clank, give me an hour of Insomniac Spider-Man in VR. I'll take that.
Oh my god, yeah.
But that'd be, because the thing is, it's one of those things too. Like there's that web VR app I covered months ago where you just swing around like a PS2 City of Spider-Man. I still play that because I just love the feeling. If I could get an hour of Insomniac web swinging Spider-Man, that'd be all I'd play forever. But so that'd be really cool little compilation thing. That's the one.
You can see on the screen here. And the official movie game was pretty fun as well. I thought, like I
haven't tried that
one.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. Oh, you should definitely give that a look. I think it's free pretty much everywhere, but that's definitely worth checking out as well.
Was that on PSVR or is it?
Yeah, it's on Steam.
Was that on again?
It's on Steam, so you should definitely give that a look.
Yeah, give it a go.
So that's all of our picks. I didn't want to finish without mentioning 2 other games that we should probably talk about because they're pretty big deals next year. First of all, Vertigo Games finally has After the Fall coming out, which is something I think could be quite cool for VR. It's like kind of a Left 4 Dead type, like narrative-driven co-op game for up to 4 players. Kind of arcadey looking, very much like building on top of Arizona Sunshine, which was their first full VR game. I think me and David have been saying recently, like we feel ready for the next big co-op Vertigo game, right? Like we need that like kind of hub where you can just keep coming back to it in VR rather than just you'll be done with it in a couple of hours. And I definitely think After the Fall could provide that, right?
Yeah, it's looking like what I wanted Seeking Dawn to be. It's kind of the vibe I get from it. And I did a demo of it at E3. what was it? Almost 2 years ago at this point, a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
And I liked it. I mean, I came away with positive impressions. It's very arcadey, very fast paced. You kill zombie like creatures. There are loot pinatas, like I was talking about earlier.
Oh yeah.
Some of the bosses would explode into a cascade of weapons on the ground when you killed them. So that was
That's exactly what he wanted.
exactly what I wanted. That's
5
right.
stars from David.
Yep. I've already written the review, to be honest with you. Yeah.
It just says loot pinatas
Loot
over
is
and
great.
over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it looks really, really cool. I want to see. I mean, it's been away for so long. I'm hoping to see some kind of some more depth to it, but we don't know what's happening with it. We know it's coming to PC VR. We know it's coming to PSVR. I strongly suspect, but I have not heard officially at all. I strongly suspect we'll be seeing this on Quest 2, and that might, have something to do with why it's been away for so long.
Yeah, it's like Population 1, right? They went into hibernation for a year and a half, and then they came out and launched day and date on Quest and PC at the same time.
So people would actually play it.
I've got a bonus question for you, Jamie. Here's my bonus question. Because I think this will happen next year. Which Quest game do you think that we know of
2020
will be 2020? Will be the one that is the first Quest 2 exclusive that is not available on Quest 1?
Oh.
Is it this game? Because I feel like it will happen next year. Yeah,
I think that's likely
because
if you look at Arizona Sunshine, that game is already like night and day between Quest 1 and Quest 2.
Yep.
And that game's 4 years old. So I mean,
yeah. I just wonder.
I'm
sure that one of the games next year. I just feel like that's coming. I feel like that is, as much as it will upset people, I think it will happen inevitably sometime next year.
I think it will be the Ubisoft games, because the Ubisoft games haven't announced where they're going to be yet, even though it doesn't really make sense in my mind to start sinking millions of dollars into a PC version at this point. So I think that's what it's going to be, and I don't think that will be this year. I think it'll, like I said, I think it will probably be 2022 at the very, very earliest. But I think that's when it will happen. But that is a very good question. We should definitely everyone should be thinking about that in the new year as they hold on to their OG quests. The other game we have to talk about actually is a PC VR game. Lone Echo 2 maybe might come out next year. Who knows? It's been some time since we last saw it. I think E3 2019, I want to say, is the last time we saw it, right? And then
David, you tried it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried it. It's Lone Echo, but more, I guess.
Yeah, more Echo.
It is Lone Echo 2. Yeah, more Echo.
Lone Echo 2, the Echo Boogaloo.
I think the thing is, I still think Lone Echo is probably, in my opinion, I think it's probably still far and away easily the best Oculus exclusive. I don't know about if you guys.
Well, I mean, you're saying that to a guy that called Asgard's Wrath the best VR game yet. Whenever I reviewed it, so
yeah,
I can't agree with you, but I do think Lone Echo is amazing for sure.
Have to stick to your laurels on that one. I understand. No, because
it's true.
I think there's a wider debate to be had here. I think the thing about Lone Echo was the movement was so brilliantly intuitive, and interacting with Liv as a character was so incredibly convincing. And I genuinely thought, when it first came out, I thought, oh yeah, like this is it, this is where people start really paying attention to what makes sense for VR development. And I think it's probably been a little longer than that still. Like, I mean, Echo VR is obviously absolutely incredible, but most people are still going down different, more traditional gamey routes. So yeah, we'll see. I really hope they come out and deliver a really, really good game. It could have been delayed for so long again because maybe it's coming to Quest. Don't know. Again, don't know.
I feel like that's got to be it. I mean, Facebook.
There's a lot of things like that, right? Yeah. There's a lot of situations like that where we I feel like we keep saying it. It's like, oh, yeah, we feel
that was
like,
the
like
OG Rift. Sorry, that's how long this game's been in development. That's the original Oculus Rift at the end of the trailer there.
Yeah.
And we're on Quest 2 since then.
I remember sitting in a room,
lot of things like that.
In San Francisco, and Nate Mitchell making a big deal about the fact that it had a 3D trailer for Lone Echo 2 that we got to watch on our Oculus Go's that they provided to us at the event. And yeah, I mean, it's things are different right now.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing that I do want to bring up, one other quick game that I want to claim, even though it's not on your list, I don't think. Sniper Elite VR. I'm excited for that one.
I should have mentioned that. Great shout.
Very, very excited for that one because whenever I originally played that back on PSVR, what was it, 2 years ago at E3? It was using the aim controller. It was announced as a PSVR exclusive, I think, or at least
I think it was. Yeah, it was the only.
That's all they talked
announced
about at the time. It was they hadn't announced anything else. And I thought it was just going to be kind of like, oh, you're here on a ledge, take out these enemies, you have a sniper. I thought that was basically going to be the whole game. And I was still like, okay, this seems pretty fun. But then at Facebook Connect, they revealed a new trailer. And I mean, the trailer is incredible. To me, this is like, I'm arguably like kind of expecting
I know
more,
what you're going to say.
Say it. I'm expecting this to be better than Medal of Honor VR.
No, I knew it. I knew you were going to say it.
Yeah. Yep. It's specifically in terms of the campaign because I don't think there's
train
multiplayer.
Has left the station, ladies and gentlemen. There it is.
I mean, is it the hype train? I gave Medal of Honor a 3 out of 5. I mean, so
no, but that's what I mean. But we were expecting Medal of Honor to be huge. But I totally agree with you. At the end of the day, I look at this campaign trailer, and when they first showed it to us back at Oculus Connect or Facebook Connect, I was like, "What? Really? This looks like a full game.
Totally different game. This is not what I thought it would be. Like, they're dual wielding pistols. You're like infiltrating bases. You're like there's stealth. There's explosions. I mean, like it looks like they've really overhauled it, and I'm excited because I'm assuming that footage was PC footage, so I want to see what it looks like on Quest. I'm excited for that game.
That one comment, Marquis Desang said, "I want an Age of Sigmar game." Funny you should say that because an Age of Sigmar game is actually coming out, and that's actually one we should have talked about as well. A new Warhammer Age of Sigmar game from Carbon Studios, the guys that did the Wizards, and it's the same kind of thing where you're using a lot of like gesture-based controls and like summoning spells and stuff like that, just in the Warhammer realm this time. And I think that looks really, really cool too. Harry, is there anything else you wanted? I know there's one other thing you wanted to talk about.
There's one other thing I want to talk about very quickly, which is Paper Birds, which is not technically a VR game, I guess. It's more like an animation that you kind of interact with, or a short VR movie. But it's by Baobab and 3D AR. They've kind of teamed up. This is the first time they've teamed up together. Part 1 is available now as of like a week ago on Quest. And if you haven't seen it, I would recommend it. The story of the first part kind of, I felt a bit flat. But I think that's what I thought when I watched it, and I think the longer it's been since I watched it, I actually appreciate how beautiful the animation is, and that kind of it's got that similar style to Gloomy Eyes. It's the same studio, and I really loved Gloomy Eyes as well. But it's that similar kind of almost like Tim Burton-y kind of in VR, almost like Nightmare Before Christmas style in a way. But it's really cool to have that and be able to kind of get up close and look at the little models as they move around. Even if the story is, the story was fine, but there's part 2 coming, and they said that's coming out sometime next year. I would hope in the earlier part of next year, but we'll see. But I'm looking forward to going back and watching that, especially with Quest 2 now that I've got a higher res headset. That's one that I perhaps didn't think I'd be looking forward to, but it's kind of one of those things where I go, oh, when that comes out, I'll definitely check it out. Like it's, I want to see where that goes and what the animation is like.
I really recommend you check out Wolves on the Walls now that that's on Quest.
Yeah, that's been on my list for like ages.
It's incredible. Everyone, go check out Wolves on the Walls. It's one of the best AI interactions I've ever seen in VR. It is fantastic.
Yeah, we're going to have more on VR movies. Tomorrow we're going to be talking with the guys at Atlas V. They're going to be talking about some of their stuff coming up in 2021, including Battle Scar, some changes for Gloomy Eyes and stuff like that. So that's going to be cool. That's another thing happening on the winter wrap-up. Tomorrow, like I said, we've also got Unplugged and Traffic Jams coming up. And then Friday, we're going to have Sam & Max. This time it's virtual. And then the last thing, we're going to be revealing our Game of the Year or VR Award nominations, which is, quite surprising for all of us because we haven't actually come up with them yet, but we will. I swear, sometime between now and Friday, we will think about what they are, and we will make very informed and important decisions.
I think we all have an idea. We all have an idea.
We
or at least
have
each
an
of us
idea.
we have an idea.
And
Yeah.
what I would like to do is do that in the studio again. Maybe we'll be here live to announce them. Maybe we won't. We'll see how it goes in the next couple of days. But at a certain time on Friday, we will be revealing those. So make sure to look out for that. Guys, is there anything else that I should be saying or mentioning? Thank you so much for being here. What's going through the old noggins?
Nothing. That's it for me, at least.
I want to tell all the viewers that I appreciate you.
We do. Yeah,
nice.
We really
do
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mike Ward, Joe Books, Jonas Hess. Great to see you. Mr. Pixelo, great to see you. Thank you for the comment on the format. We enjoy this format very much. Mr. Pringles, great name. Also, Pavlov VR coming next year. We agree. Maybe. We'll see. Jacob.
Is that coming next year? I mean, I thought that was coming like September last year, but anyway.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, guys, thanks so much.
Nope, that's it.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you Friday. Have a great time. Whatever. We'll see you later. Woo!